You're still with your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso, here on SABC3. Now, we're looking back at 100 days of lockdown. Can you believe it? Here in our country, South Africa, that's the focus this morning. It's been a roller coaster ride, let's be honest. And of course, interim federal leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen, joins us for his own reflection of this time. Welcome, Mr. Steenhuisen.
Good morning. Good to be with you guys, albeit in different circumstances to the last time we were together.
I know, it's a little bit crazy. Just, if only we knew then what we know now. 100 days on, you were talking about wanting to break the back of the COVID-19 virus in terms of the infection spread. How successful have we been if you look back at the last 100 days since the nationwide lockdown began?
Well, I think we started off very, very well. I think the initial hard lockdown was the right decision to make. And I think it was strategically correct to lock down hard and lock down early so we could prepare the healthcare response to be able to meet the obvious rise in infections that we knew would eventually come, having a look at the international projections. I think that the decision to extend the hard lockdown past that initial 3 weeks has caused tremendous economic difficulties in South Africa. But worst of all, it's come at an enormous cost, and we seem to have gathered very little from it. The preparation, the ramping up of testing, tracing and tracking never took place at nearly the numbers that it should have been to be able to be effective. And when you have testing backlogs the way we do now, it's very difficult to say you've got a risk-adjusted approach when you've got no data, live data, that's being able to inform how you move through the stages. So for all intents and purposes, the lockdown has essentially ended in South Africa, and we've now got to look towards managing the virus over the next couple of weeks and months.
And I suppose part of that is making sure that we've got the resources and facilities available for those who do need them during this time. And I know that the new Hospital of Hope was recently launched at the Cape Town International Convention Centre, which is just fantastic and it's much needed help. But how essential will this new hospital be in this fight against COVID-19?
Here in the Western Cape, there's 3 now field hospitals. The Hospital of Hope is one of them. There's another one in Khayelitsha and another one that's in final stages of being prepared. And that's obviously to help you manage the peak. And these are important when you look at the difference now between what's happening in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. We've now got facilities to be able to bring people into those care facilities.
John, I've got to ask you, let's get down to brass tacks. Are we going to be able to handle the peak down in the Western Cape in this area? And when are you expecting that? Do we have enough beds here?
Yeah, I think we'll be fine in the Western Cape, certainly if one looks at the projections. The latest modelling that was done a few weeks ago indicated we may need more beds than we initially thought, and those are busy being rolled out. But I think we'll be fine here in the Western Cape, and I think that the Western Cape is going to peak before many of the other provinces start to. So I think that why the Western Cape is useful is it's going to become almost a petri dish for the rest of the country to be able to observe the virus as it moves through its stages up through its peak, and then how you manage and mitigate against it.
Oh, we're seeing infections continuing to rise across the country. Could we see the return of some restrictions? Is this what this is telling us?
Well, the thing is that the localized restriction and the risk-adjusted model would work very well and be able to move between different phases if you had the live data that was able to inform that. When you're waiting 2 weeks for test results, by the time you lock down in an area where there's suddenly a spike, it's too late because those people have come into contact with thousands of other people. So our real Achilles heel has been the lack of testing, tracing and tracking in the country and the data that would inform it. So I don't know how we're going to move between different stages or move back into some areas of greater restrictions when you don't have the data to inform that.
With what you've just said, it seems now that almost more than ever the responsibility shifts to the individual, and with now more kind of work sectors being opened, casinos, restaurants, later cinemas, beauty parlors, hairdressers. Surely now you need to reinforce the idea of personal responsibility more than ever in terms of hygiene, in terms of wearing masks. What is your message now to the public at large as we kind of navigate this very tricky phase?
Well, I think the first thing is that people who are at risk need to continue to self-isolate. So elderly people with the comorbidities, hypertension, diabetes, and the like need to stay at home. They must not venture out, and they need to quarantine certainly until we're past the peak and there is some form of treatment found. Secondly, everyone has to take personal responsibility for wearing a mask in public, making sure that they sanitize their hands and that they are taking their temperature regularly so that if their temperature does spike, they're not coming into a workplace or making contact with other people where the virus is then going to be able to be spread. And then workplaces, I think, also need to make sure that they have the ability to strictly enforce workplace hygiene, the wearing of personal protective equipment at all times, practicing of social distancing and the like, and that it has to become the new normal, and certainly until the peak has passed. And it is important that we keep those economic channels open because it is the economic activity of working South Africans that funds the public healthcare response. The nurses, doctors, ventilators, and hospitals are all funded through the economic activity of working South Africans.
Well, I'm so glad that you've stayed safe through these very trying times. Thank you so much for connecting with us. We'll continue to stay connected to you to get updates, John. But thank you for your time and all the best of luck as we do move into this critical phase now, this peak that is no doubt just around the corner.
Great, thank you, and great to be with you and look forward to the next time.